They left Elena Whitmore to die in the Labrador Sea. The explosion that destroyed her vessel lit the Arctic darkness for less than 2 seconds. The people who ordered it never bothered to watch the aftermath. They didn't need to. No one survived 3 days in freezing water, especially not after making the most impossible sniper shot in recorded history. 4,112 meters. 1 bullet. 1 kill. To the men who built the network, Elena Whitmore was no longer a person. She was a loose end, a dangerous asset carrying 20 years of secrets inside a rifle hidden beneath her frozen hands. So they erased her, or at least they thought they did. 72 hours later, a NATO rescue helicopter spotted something floating between the waves. A woman, alive and still holding the rifle. What nobody aboard that helicopter knew was that the woman they had just pulled from the ocean carried enough evidence to bring down generals, billionaires, intelligence officers, defense contractors, and a secret organization that had operated in darkness for more than 2 decades. The storm had failed to kill her. Now she was bringing the storm ashore. The Labrador Sea looked like the end of the world. Sheets of gray water stretched toward a horizon hidden beneath snow and fog. Wind slammed against Rescue Helicopter 7 as Lieutenant Commander Nathan Croswell stared through the side window. The distress beacon had stopped transmitting nearly 3 days earlier. Officially, the search should have ended. Unofficially, Nathan had refused to quit. "Last sweep," the pilot said through the headset. Nathan nodded. One more pass. Nobody argued. The crew respected him too much. Below them, mountains of black water rose and collapsed beneath the storm. Then rescue swimmer Cole Maddox suddenly leaned forward. "Hold on." Nathan turned. "What?" Cole pointed. 2 o'clock. The helicopter banked. At first, Nathan saw nothing. Then he spotted it. A piece of wreckage. Something attached to it. A human shape. For several seconds, nobody spoke. The shape moved. "Dear God," one crewman whispered. "That's a person." The helicopter immediately descended. Cole was already clipping himself into the rescue harness. The moment the aircraft stabilized, he dropped into the freezing ocean. Nathan watched him disappear beneath the spray. 30 seconds felt like 30 minutes. Finally, Cole reached the wreckage. Then his voice exploded through the radio. "She's alive!" The cabin fell silent. "What?" "She's alive!" Nathan stared through the window. Impossible. Nobody survived 72 hours in water this cold. Nobody. Yet Cole was signaling for extraction. The woman was conscious. Barely, but conscious. As they hauled both survivors upward, Nathan got his first clear look at her. She looked young, maybe early 30s. Her face was pale and bloodless. Her lips were blue, yet her eyes were open, sharp, focused, calculating. Not the eyes of someone rescued, the eyes of someone evaluating. As if she were assessing the helicopter, the crew, and every possible threat before deciding whether survival was acceptable. Then Nathan noticed something else, the rifle. Even while half frozen to death, she refused to release it. Cole tried to separate her fingers from the weapon. They wouldn't move. "It's like she's welded to the damn thing," Cole muttered. Nathan stepped closer. The rifle wasn't military issue. It wasn't civilian either. He had never seen anything like it. The woman looked directly at him. For a moment, the storm, the helicopter, and every sound around them seemed to disappear. Only those eyes remained. Then she spoke. Her voice was barely audible. "If I lose the rifle," she coughed blood, "people die." Nathan stared at her. Before he could answer, her eyes rolled back and she collapsed unconscious. The helicopter turned toward Greenland. None of them realized it yet. But the moment Elena Whitmore boarded that aircraft, a 20-year conspiracy began counting down toward destruction. The Arctic Defense Recovery Center sat alone on Greenland's frozen coastline. Wind hammered the reinforced walls day and night. Most of the personnel stationed there considered it one of the safest places in the world. Lieutenant Commander Nathan Croswell stopped believing that 3 hours after Elena Whitmore arrived. The medical team had worked continuously since landing. Her condition made no sense. Dr. Ingrid Falk stood beside a monitor reviewing numbers for the 3rd time, so they erased her. Nathan looked up. "The readings? They have to be." She pointed toward the screen. "A person exposed to those temperatures for 72 hours should be dead." "But she isn't." "No." The doctor shook her head. "Which means either everything I know about human physiology is wrong." She looked through the glass at Elena. or that woman is something very unusual. Inside the room, Elena remained unconscious. Blankets covered her. Warm air circulated around her bed. Yet even asleep, one hand rested on the rifle. No one had managed to separate them. Not successfully. The first nurse who tried learned why. The moment her fingers touched the weapon, Elena's eyes snapped open. Not gradually, not groggily, instantly. Like a predator, waking. The nurse jumped backward. Elena's hand repositioned itself on the rifle before she was fully conscious. Don't. The word came out rough and broken, but there was no confusion in it, only warning. The entire room froze. Dr. Falk slowly raised her hands. Nobody is taking it. Several seconds passed. Finally, Elena relaxed, barely. Then, exhaustion dragged her back under. The incident spread through the facility in less than an hour. By sunset, Nathan had already received 3 separate reports. Every version ended the same way. Nobody touched the rifle again. Not until weapons specialist Elliot Voss arrived. Elliot had spent most of his career analyzing advanced military systems. He entered the secure examination room carrying 2 tablets and a toolbox. Nathan followed. The rifle rested on a steel table. For nearly a minute, Elliot simply stared at it. Then he frowned. "What?" Nathan asked. Elliot moved closer. "This shouldn't exist." Nathan had heard those words before. Usually they were exaggerations. This time, they weren't. Elliot pointed toward the stock. "Look at the machining." Nathan leaned closer. The craftsmanship was extraordinary. Every component fit together with impossible precision. No manufacturing marks, no serial numbers, no identifying information, nothing. It was custom built? Not exactly. Elliot's voice became quieter. Custom weapons still follow known engineering principles. He pointed toward the barrel. "This doesn't." Nathan felt a chill. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying whoever built this wasn't improving an existing rifle." Elliot looked at him. "They built an entirely new platform." The room became silent. Elliot continued his inspection. 20 minutes later, he found something. A seam. Tiny. Almost invisible. Hidden beneath the composite stock. His expression changed immediately. "Commander." Nathan stepped closer. "What?" "I found additional mass." "Meaning?" Elliot carefully tapped the stock. "Hollow space." Nathan stared. "A compartment?" "Looks that way." Elliot spent another hour examining it. Finally, the hidden panel released. Both men leaned forward. Inside sat a waterproof, encrypted data module. No labels. No markings. No manufacturer, just a black rectangular drive. Nathan felt the atmosphere in the room change. The rifle was never the important thing. Whatever was inside the rifle was. At that exact moment, the door opened. A nurse rushed in. "Commander." Nathan turned. "What happened?" The nurse looked shaken. "She woke up." "Elena?" "Yes." The nurse swallowed. "She says she'll only speak to you." Minutes later, Nathan entered her room. Elena was sitting upright, which should have been impossible. She had barely survived. Yet somehow she looked alert, dangerously alert. The rifle leaned against the wall beside her. Her eyes followed Nathan as he approached. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Elena broke the silence. "Your weapons expert found the compartment." It wasn't a question. Nathan stopped. "How do you know that?" A faint shadow of a smile appeared. "Because she already knew the answer. Because he was always going to find it." She held Nathan's gaze. "When he tells you what's inside?" Her voice became very quiet. "Don't tell anyone else." Nathan felt every instinct in his body activate. "Why?" Elena looked toward the rifle, then back at him. "Because the people who tried to kill me aren't finished." A long silence followed. Then she delivered the warning that would haunt him for the rest of the night. "Whatever number he shows you, Commander." Her eyes hardened. "It's real." Nathan Crosswell barely slept. After leaving Elena's room, he went directly to the secure maintenance wing where Elliot Voss had isolated himself with the rifle and the encrypted data module. The facility's clocks showed 2:17 a minute. Outside, Arctic winds screamed across Greenland's frozen coastline. Inside, the atmosphere felt even colder. Elliot sat alone beneath a single overhead light. 3 empty coffee cups surrounded his laptop. Lines of code moved across the screen. He didn't look up when Nathan entered. "Tell me you have something." Elliot stared at the monitor. "I have something." His voice sounded strange. Nathan immediately noticed. Not excitement, not fear, something closer to disbelief. "How much?" "The first layer is open." Nathan closed the door behind him. "And?" Elliot finally looked up. "You should sit down." Nathan remained standing. "I'll risk it." For several seconds, Elliot simply watched him. Then he turned the screen. The first files appeared. Mission records. Coordinates. atmospheric conditions, wind calculations, ballistic trajectories, target confirmations, operation dates. Every entry carried extraordinary detail. This is military-grade documentation, Nathan said. Beyond military grade. Elliot scrolled. There are 17 confirmed operations spanning 4 years. Nathan studied the screen. Every mission followed the same pattern. One shooter, one target, one shot, one kill. The precision was terrifying. Whoever Elena really was, she wasn't simply talented. She was something else, something engineered. Who assigned these missions? Nathan asked. Elliot shook his head. Unknown. The issuing authority is hidden behind another encryption layer. Nathan frowned. So what do we actually know? Elliot hesitated. Then he opened the final entry. The room became silent. A series of numbers filled the screen. Nathan read them once, then again, then a third time, because his brain refused to accept them. Distance, 4,112 meters. Wind, 22 kilometers per hour. Variable gusts. Flight time, 6.8 seconds. Target status, confirmed. Nathan slowly looked up. Is this real? Elliot didn't answer immediately. Instead, he opened 3 separate verification files. Weather reports, satellite data, meteorological records. Every variable matched. Every detail aligned. Every number agreed. There is no fabrication here. Nathan felt his pulse increase. That's impossible. Yes. Elliot nodded. That's exactly the problem. The room fell quiet again. Nathan stared at the distance. 4,112 meters, more than 2.5 miles. At that range, a shooter wasn't merely fighting gravity. They were fighting the rotation of the Earth itself. Temperature changes, air density, wind layers, atmospheric distortion. Mathematics became more important than marksmanship. Nobody made that shot. Nobody. Yet someone had, and the data proved it. Nathan looked toward the target designation. Then, everything changed. His eyes locked on a name. The world seemed to stop moving. No. Elliot nodded slowly. That's what I said. Nathan read it again. Target, Graham Blackwood. Confirmed kill. 3 days earlier, the same Graham Blackwood whose sudden death had already appeared in classified intelligence summaries. Official cause? Medical event pending investigation. Nathan felt ice move through his veins. It wasn't a medical event. No. Elliot's voice was flat. It was a bullet. Neither man spoke. For a long moment, only the wind outside filled the silence. Finally, Nathan broke it. Then someone destroyed her vessel within hours because they knew. Yes. Nathan looked back at the screen. The sequence suddenly became horrifyingly clear. Elena made the shot. Blackwood died. The network discovered what happened. A recovery team located Elena. Her vessel exploded, and she was left floating in one of the deadliest oceans on Earth. Not to kill her, to erase her. Nathan remembered Elena's warning. Whatever number he shows you, it's real. She had known exactly what they would find, which meant she had known much more. Elliot cleared his throat. Commander. Nathan looked up. Elliot's expression had changed. There was concern in it now. Real concern. The outer partition isn't the whole module. Nathan froze. What do you mean? Elliot pointed toward the drive. The storage allocation doesn't make sense. He opened another diagnostic window. There's empty space. Nathan stared. How much? A lot. Elliot leaned back. Enough for another partition. The room suddenly felt smaller. Another partition, another secret, another layer. Nathan thought about Elena surviving 72 hours in the Labrador Sea while protecting this rifle with her life. Whatever was hidden inside the second layer, it mattered more than survival itself. At that exact moment, his secure phone vibrated. A message appeared. Medical wing. Patient requesting immediate meeting. Nathan Crosswell only. Nathan stared at the message, then at the screen, then at the impossible number. 4,112 meters. One bullet. One kill. And somehow he knew the shot itself wasn't the biggest secret Elena Whitmore was carrying. It was only the door. Nathan arrived at Elena's room less than 3 minutes after receiving the message. The corridor outside was quiet. Most of the facility was asleep. Only the distant hum of generators and the endless Arctic wind broke the silence. When he entered, Elena was sitting upright beside the window. The rifle rested against the wall within arm's reach. Always within arm's reach. Nathan had begun noticing that pattern. Every movement she made seemed calculated, every position chosen, every exit identified, every threat assessed. She turned her head slightly when he entered. You found the mission logs. It wasn't a question. Nathan closed the door. The shot was real. Yes. 4,112 meters.
Yes.
Nathan studied her. Most people would have shown pride, or guilt, or regret. Elena showed none of them, only certainty. Who are you? He finally asked. The question hung between them. For the first time since arriving in Greenland, something changed in her expression. Not fear, not hesitation, something older. Tiredness. The kind that accumulates over years. You won't like the answer. Try me. A long silence followed. Then Elena began. I grew up in foster care. Her voice was calm, flat, as if she had repeated the sentence many times and long ago stopped expecting anyone to care. Upstate New York. She looked toward the dark window. I moved through 12 homes before I turned 15. Nathan remained silent. She continued. Then Vivian Ashcroft found me. The name meant nothing to him, yet the way Elena said it made him pay attention. Who was she? I still don't know. A pause. Recruiter, psychologist, intelligence officer. Maybe all three. Nathan leaned forward. Recruiter for what? A faint smile appeared. Not amusement, recognition. That's the interesting part. She looked directly at him. At first, I thought it was a school. 3 weeks after meeting Ashcroft, Elena had been transferred to a private educational facility hidden in Montana. Officially, it was called White Pine Institute. Unofficially, it was something very different. The students were brilliant. Mathematics, physics, engineering, computer science. Every student possessed extraordinary abilities. Every student was also alone. No families, no support systems, no one asking questions, no one looking for them. We were assets before we knew what assets were. Nathan felt something unpleasant settle in his stomach. How old were you? 15. For 2 years, the education appeared legitimate. Then everything changed. The curriculum shifted. Physical conditioning appeared. Then firearms training. Then long-range trajectory analysis. Then environmental calculations. Then target acquisition, one step at a time. Slow enough that nobody noticed where the road was leading, until it was too late. Samuel Thornfield became my instructor. Nathan remembered the name from the files. The trainer? Yes. The room grew quiet. Elena looked at the rifle. He was the best teacher I ever had. Nathan frowned. You sound like you respected him. I did. The answer came instantly. That surprised Nathan. He taught me mathematics. She paused. He taught me discipline. Another pause. He taught me how to survive. Then her expression darkened. And he taught me how to kill. The words landed heavily. At 17, Elena could solve ballistic equations faster than military software. At 19, she could hit moving targets beyond distances most snipers considered impossible. At 21, she became operational. The first missions appeared justified. Arms traffickers, war criminals, terror financiers. The intelligence always checked out, or seemed to. She believed she was saving lives. For years, she never questioned it. Then came Sophia Lindgren. The name changed everything. Nathan noticed it immediately. The moment Elena said it, her voice shifted. Not much, but enough. Who was she? Elena looked down. For the first time, actual emotion appeared. Sophia was supposed to be a criminal. She laughed once, a bitter sound. That's what they told me. Mission documents described Sophia Lindgren as a financial intermediary working with international criminal organizations. The evidence looked convincing. Photographs, financial transfers, meetings, connections. Everything aligned, at least on the surface. Elena performed her standard verification process. Then something unexpected happened. The facts didn't match. The deeper she dug, the worse it became. Sophia wasn't a criminal. She was an investigator, a forensic accountant, a woman exposing corruption, a mother of 2 children, 7 and 4 years old. Nathan watched Elena's hands tighten. The memory clearly still hurt. What did you do? I reported a verification failure. Mission rules were simple. If intelligence could not be confirmed, the operation stopped. At least, that was what the handbook said. Reality proved different. They overruled me. Nathan wasn't surprised, but Elena wasn't finished. They told me I didn't have enough information. They said, trust the mission. Her eyes hardened. Then Samuel came. The room fell silent. Nathan already knew this part mattered very much. Samuel Thornfield sat across from her and delivered one sentence she would never forget. You were chosen for your capabilities, Elena, not your judgment. Trust the mission. Elena stared at Nathan. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then she said the words that changed both of their lives. So I refused. Nathan's eyes narrowed. You refused the mission? Yes. What happened next? For the first time all night, Elena looked afraid, not of the future, of the memory. I ran. And with that single word, the next chapter of her life began. The chapter that turned a weapon into a threat, and a threat into the most hunted woman on Earth. For several moments after Elena spoke, neither of them said anything. The Arctic wind rattled softly against the reinforced windows. Nathan sat across from her, trying to imagine what it would feel like to walk away from the only life you had ever known. Not resign, not quit. Run. Because the people you worked for had decided an innocent woman deserved to die. What happened after you disappeared? Nathan finally asked. Elena leaned back slightly. They tried to kill me. The answer came so quickly that it almost sounded routine, as if she were describing weather. Nathan felt a chill. Immediately? Within 48 hours. She looked toward the rifle. The first team found me in Prague. Nathan frowned. You escaped? Obviously. The faintest hint of humor appeared in her eyes. Then it vanished. The second team was better. The second attempt happened 6 months later. Barcelona. A rented apartment, 2 exits, 3 surveillance positions, 4 shooters. Elena survived because she noticed one detail. A man reading a newspaper outside her building. The paper was upside down. Most people wouldn't have noticed. Elena did. That single observation saved her life. She escaped through a maintenance tunnel 3 minutes before the team breached the apartment. Nathan shook his head. You lived like that for 3 years? Every day. The words carried no self-pity, only fact. 3 years of changing names. 3 years of changing countries. 3 years of never sleeping in the same place twice. 3 years of constantly calculating threats. The irony wasn't lost on her. The organization had trained her to hunt. Instead, it had created the perfect fugitive. They taught me how to disappear. A pause. They just never expected me to disappear from them. Nathan almost smiled. Almost. Then Elena's expression darkened. Running wasn't the hardest part. What was? Her answer came immediately. Learning the truth. That was when the story changed. At first, Elena only wanted answers about Sofia Lindgren, nothing more. She hacked archived records, intercepted communications, accessed old briefing databases she had secretly preserved before fleeing. The deeper she dug, the worse everything became. Sofia wasn't an exception. She wasn't a mistake. She wasn't collateral damage. She was a pattern, one of many. Elena discovered investigative journalists who had died in suspicious accidents, whistleblowers whose careers mysteriously collapsed, prosecutors reassigned days before major cases, financial investigators buried under bureaucratic reviews, anti-corruption operations quietly terminated. Every trail eventually led toward the same invisible structure, a structure hidden behind legitimate government contracts, defense companies, consulting firms, security contractors, foundations, think tanks. Everything looked legal. Everything looked ordinary until you followed the money. Then the pattern appeared, and at the center of that pattern stood one man, Graham Blackwood. Nathan leaned forward. The same Blackwood. The same one. Elena nodded. Publicly, he was a respected defense executive. She laughed softly. Privately, he was the financial architect of the entire system. For nearly a decade, Blackwood had helped move money through layers of corporations and government contracts. Funds disappeared. Operations appeared. People died. Investigations vanished. And nobody connected the dots, because nobody had all the dots. Until Elena. During her years on the run, she collected everything. Emails, transfer records, encrypted communications, contract approvals, authorization signatures, internal reports, thousands upon thousands of documents. Every discovery brought more danger. Twice, she narrowly escaped assassination attempts, once in Sweden, once in Belgium. The Belgium incident came closest. She had been tracking financial records linked to Blackwood's holding companies. Someone noticed. 3 operatives cornered her inside an underground train station. Nathan noticed her jaw tighten. The memory still carried weight. What happened? Elena looked at him. I survived. The simplicity of the answer somehow made it worse. Nathan didn't ask for details. He wasn't sure he wanted them, because he already knew what survival probably looked like. Violent, fast, permanent. Over time, Elena realized something important. The evidence alone wasn't enough. If Blackwood remained alive, he would destroy any investigation before it started. He had too much influence, too much money, too many connections. Every path led back to him. Eventually, she reached a conclusion, a terrible one, a necessary one. Blackwood had to be removed. Only then could the evidence survive. Only then could the network be exposed. Only then could Sophia Lindgren's destroyed investigation finally be completed. Nathan stared at her. The shot. Elena nodded. The shot. The room became quiet again. Nathan understood now. The famous 4,112-meter kill wasn't revenge. It wasn't personal. It wasn't even the goal. It was simply the final step in a much larger equation. 3 years of evidence. 3 years of sacrifice. 3 years of running. Everything had pointed toward that single moment. One trigger pull. One bullet. One target. Then Elena's expression suddenly changed. Her eyes shifted toward the door. The movement was subtle, but Nathan noticed immediately. "What is it?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she listened. A distant sound echoed somewhere beyond the corridor. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Professional. Elena's eyes hardened. The look Nathan had seen in the helicopter returned instantly. Predator awareness. Juror recognition. Calculation. Finally, she spoke, very quietly. "They found me." Nathan's heart stopped. Then the lights in the hallway flickered. Only once. But once was enough. The hunt was over, and something far worse was about to begin. The hallway lights flickered once, then stabilized. To most people, it would have meant nothing. A minor electrical fluctuation. A normal inconvenience inside a remote Arctic facility. To Elena Whitmore, it meant everything. She stood up immediately. The movement was fast enough that Nathan instinctively took a step backward. Not because he was afraid of her, because he realized something. The woman who had been sitting in a hospital bed seconds earlier was gone. In her place stood the person who had survived 3 years of being hunted. "They're here." Nathan moved toward the door. "Who?" Elena grabbed his arm hard. "Don't." Nathan looked at her. For the first time since they had met, she looked genuinely alarmed. Not scared. Alarmed. "They want you to open that door." The words froze him. A second later, footsteps passed outside. Slow. Unhurried. The pace of someone who belonged there. The pace of someone pretending. Nathan waited. The footsteps continued, then faded. Only after several seconds did Elena release his arm. "They're early." Nathan immediately activated his secure radio. Crosswell to Voss. Static. Then Elliot's voice. "Go." Status. A pause. Then Elliot answered. "You need to come see this." Nathan and Elena reached the maintenance wing less than 4 minutes later. Inside, Elliot sat in front of 3 screens. His face looked pale. Victor Hale stood beside him. Logan Mercer was near the door. Everyone looked tense. "What happened?" Nathan asked. Elliot pointed at a monitor. "I found the access point." Nathan stepped closer. A network diagram filled the screen. Hundreds of connections spread across the facility. Most were ordinary. One wasn't. A single hidden thread ran beneath everything. Silent. Invisible. Watching. "What am I looking at?" Elliot leaned back. "A surveillance architecture." Nathan frowned. "From where?" Before Elliot could answer, Elena spoke. "Helix." Everyone turned toward her. Nathan's eyes narrowed. "You know it?" Elena nodded. "I've known about it for years." She moved closer to the screen. "The company is called Aegis Meridian Solutions now." Victor looked confused. "What company?" "A government contractor." She pointed at the hidden thread. "They install communication infrastructure." Nathan felt something cold move through him. "And?" Elena's eyes remained fixed on the screen. "They belong to the network." Silence. The room absorbed that. Finally, Logan spoke. "You mean the people hunting you?" "Yes." Nathan looked back at the monitor. "You're telling me the surveillance system inside this facility was built by the same people who tried to kill you?" "Exactly." No one spoke, because suddenly everything made sense. The timing, the tracking, the rapid response. Someone had known Elena survived. Someone had known exactly where she was. Nathan's jaw tightened. "How long have they been watching?" Elliot answered. "Years." The room fell silent again. Then Elena delivered even worse news. "They're not sending investigators." Nathan already knew. Still, he asked, "What are they sending?" Elena met his eyes. "Obsidian Directive." The name seemed to lower the temperature in the room. Victor crossed his arms. "What's that?" For the first time, Elena looked uncomfortable. "They're the recovery team." "Recovery?" "No." Her voice became harder. "Termination." Nobody moved. Nobody blinked. Elena continued. "They travel in 4-person cells. They always have an inside contact. They always know the layout before they arrive, and they never fail. Nathan stared at her. You've seen them? Twice. The answer came instantly. They killed 3 people helping me in Stockholm. Her voice remained calm. They nearly killed me in Brussels. Something changed in the room. The threat had become real, personal, close. Nathan looked around the table. We move now. Everyone immediately shifted into action. No hesitation, no debate. Victor secured alternate routes. Logan began monitoring entrances. Elliot continued tracing the surveillance architecture. Nathan turned toward Elena. How much time do we have? She thought for exactly 2 seconds. Less than an hour. The room became still. Then Elliot suddenly spoke. I found something else. Everyone looked at him. What? He zoomed into the network map. 4 access points, 4 separate positions. Already active, already moving. Nathan stared at the screen. The realization hit instantly. They're already inside. Nobody spoke, because everyone understood what that meant. The operation wasn't coming. It had already begun. Elena slowly reached for the rifle. Not dramatically, not aggressively, like someone putting on a seatbelt before impact. Nathan watched her. Can you still fight? The question hung in the room. For a moment, Elena said nothing. Then she looked directly at him. The same eyes that had opened in the freezing Labrador Sea. The same eyes that had survived 3 years of pursuit. The same eyes that had calculated a 4,112-meter shot. Her answer was simple. I never stopped. At that exact moment, somewhere in the facility, a fire alarm suddenly activated. Red emergency lights flooded the corridor, and Obsidian Directive made its first move. The fire alarm screamed through the facility. Red emergency lights flashed across the walls. Somewhere distant, automatic safety doors began closing. The timing was too perfect, too coordinated. Obsidian Directive had arrived, and they wanted everyone distracted. Nathan Crosswell immediately keyed his radio. Ignore the alarm. His voice cut through the team channel. Nobody moves unless I order it. Victor Hale responded first. Copy. Logan Mercer answered a second later. Copy. Cole Maddox was already repositioning toward the secondary corridor. Nathan looked toward Elena. She hadn't moved. She stood perfectly still, watching, listening, calculating. What happens next? Nathan asked. Elena didn't hesitate. The distraction phase. The what? Obsidian never attacks immediately. Her eyes remained fixed on the door. They create confusion first. A second alarm activated somewhere deeper inside the facility. Then another, and another. Within moments, multiple sectors reported emergencies. Electrical faults, equipment failures, security breaches. Every system seemed to be malfunctioning at once. Nathan understood instantly. Someone's inside the network. Several people. Elena corrected him. They're testing reactions. The room fell silent. Then Elliot Voss suddenly looked up from his laptop. His face had changed. What is it? Nathan asked. Elliot swallowed. I found the secondary partition. Everyone froze, even Elena. For a brief moment, something almost looked like relief in her eyes. Can you open it? Nathan asked. Elliot shook his head. No. Why? Because she built it. He pointed toward Elena. The encryption isn't military. It isn't government. It isn't commercial. Nathan frowned. What is it? Elliot looked genuinely impressed. It's mathematics. For the first time all night, Elena smiled. A real smile. Small. Brief. Gone almost immediately. Nathan stared. Only you can open it? Yes. The answer was simple. No pride. No arrogance. Just fact. Elliot immediately disconnected the laptop from every network connection. Then we need a secure transmission path. Nathan nodded. How long? Elliot's fingers flew across the keyboard. 30 minutes. You have 20. The two men exchanged a look. Then Elliot got back to work. The next 20 minutes became a race, not against Obsidian, against time itself. While Elliot built an isolated satellite relay, Elena began preparing the partition. Nathan watched her work. She looked different now. Not like a survivor, not like a fugitive, like a scientist. Every movement deliberate, every decision precise, every action planned years in advance. Finally, Nathan sat beside her. What's inside? Elena remained focused on the screen. The truth. Nathan almost laughed. That's not specific. No. She glanced at him. It isn't. Her fingers continued moving. The financial structure, the operational records, the authorization chains, the active contracts. Nathan stared. Active? Elena stopped typing. Slowly, she looked up. That's the part people won't like. A chill moved through him. What does that mean? It means the network didn't end with Blackwood. The room became very quiet. Elena continued. Blackwood was a node, a major one. But still a node. Nathan felt the implications immediately. There are others, many. She opened a file. Rows of names appeared. Contract numbers, approvals, transfers, payments. Nathan recognized several. His stomach tightened. Some belonged to powerful people. Very powerful people. People who appeared on television. People who testified before governments. People trusted by millions. What am I looking at? Elena's answer came softly. The reason they want me dead. The room absorbed that. Elliot suddenly looked up. His face had gone pale. Nathan immediately noticed. What now? Elliot rotated the screen. A new list appeared. Government contracts. Current contracts. Not old. Not historical. Active. Funded. Operating now. Nathan read the first one, then the second, then the third. His heartbeat accelerated because he recognized them. Everyone in the room did. These weren't forgotten programs. They were ongoing operations. Present tense. Current reality. The network wasn't history. It was alive and functioning right now. Victor Hale broke the silence. My God. Nobody disagreed. Then Logan spoke. If this gets out, it changes everything. Elena finished the sentence. Nathan looked at her. Can it be proven? She nodded. Every document, every transaction, every approval, every communication, cross-referenced, verified, authenticated, court-ready. The evidence wasn't intelligence. It was prosecution. The distinction mattered a lot. Nathan looked toward Elliot. How long? 10 minutes. The room suddenly felt much smaller. 10 minutes. 10 minutes until the evidence left Greenland. 10 minutes until powerful people learned their secrets no longer belonged to them. 10 minutes until the entire balance of power changed. Then Cole's voice exploded through the radio. Movement. Everyone froze. Cole continued. 2 unidentified personnel approaching Sector C. A pause. Then, they're moving fast. Nathan immediately stood. The race had reached its final stage. The Obsidian Directive was done watching. Now, they were coming. And the evidence wasn't finished transmitting yet. 2 unidentified personnel approaching Sector C. Cole Maddox's voice crackled through the radio. Every person in the room instantly understood what that meant. Obsidian Directive had stopped observing. Now they were advancing. Nathan Crosswell checked his watch. 10 minutes. That was all Elliot needed. 10 minutes to complete the transmission. 10 minutes to move years of evidence beyond anyone's ability to destroy. 10 minutes that suddenly felt impossibly short. Positions. Nathan's voice remained calm. The team moved immediately. Victor took the eastern corridor. Logan secured the secondary entrance. Cole remained forward as the first warning layer. Nathan stayed near the transmission room, and Elena Whitmore stood exactly where she wanted to stand, near the rear wall, partially concealed. Full view of the entrance. Full view of the approach corridor. Nathan noticed something. She wasn't nervous, not even slightly. If anything, she looked more relaxed than she had all night. The uncertainty was gone. The enemy had finally appeared, and certainty was Elena's preferred environment. 500 meters, Cole reported. They're slowing. Elena nodded. They're confirming positions. Nathan glanced at her. You know exactly how they operate. I should. Her expression darkened. They trained me. The room became silent. Nobody had thought about it that way. For years, Elena had belonged to the same machine now trying to eliminate her. She understood its methods because she had once been one of its most valuable assets. That realization made everyone uncomfortable, including Nathan. Then another message arrived. Cole again. 3 targets now. Nathan frowned. 3? Confirmed. Elena immediately looked toward the monitor displaying facility cameras. No. Everyone turned. What? Nathan asked. They move in cells of 4. Her eyes narrowed. 1 is already inside. The room froze. Suddenly the danger doubled. 3 approaching. 1 hidden. Nathan's mind accelerated. The infiltrator could be anywhere. A technician, a security officer, medical staff, command personnel, anyone. Every face in the facility instantly became suspect. Elliot broke the silence. Transmission 42% complete. Nathan nodded. Keep going. Nobody moved from their positions. Outside, snow hammered the building. The Arctic storm was worsening. Visibility had dropped dramatically. Under normal circumstances, that weather would have been considered dangerous. Tonight, it was an advantage. No helicopter, no easy reinforcements, no rapid extraction. Both sides were trapped together. Exactly the kind of battlefield Obsidian preferred, and exactly the kind Elena had anticipated. 3 minutes later, another update arrived. Sector B breached. Cole's voice remained controlled, but Nathan heard tension underneath. They're moving faster now. Victor's voice followed immediately. I have visual. The radio went silent for a second. Then, professional. Nobody needed clarification. Everyone knew exactly what that meant. Nathan looked at Elena. She was listening, calculating. Always calculating. Then she spoke. They know we're transmitting. Nathan's eyes narrowed. How? They changed pace. She pointed toward the screen. If they believed recovery was still possible, they'd continue reconnaissance. Her gaze hardened. They're rushing because they're losing. The realization landed heavily. The evidence mattered more than Elena, more than the rifle, more than anything. The operation wasn't about killing her anymore. It was about stopping the transmission. Nathan checked the progress bar. 56%. Still too far. Still too slow. Then the lights flickered again, this time harder. Several monitors briefly went dark. Emergency power activated. Red lighting flooded the room. A heartbeat later, Logan's voice exploded across the channel. Contact. Everyone froze. Status, Nathan demanded. I intercepted someone in medical uniform. A pause. Heavy breathing. Then, he wasn't medical. Nobody spoke. Because everyone already knew. The hidden fourth operative. Inside. All along. Logan continued. He had access cards, multiple credentials, fake identities. Elena closed her eyes, only briefly. Then she nodded. Obsidian. Nathan looked at the transmission. 63%. Still not enough. Then Elliot suddenly sat upright. His face lost all color. Nathan immediately saw it. What? Elliot pointed at the screen. A new alert appeared. Unauthorized network activity detected. Transmission source identified. The room went completely silent. Nathan stared. The enemy knew exactly where the evidence was, exactly where they were, exactly where to strike. They found us. Victor's voice came through immediately. Movement accelerating. Cole followed. 3 targets now running. No more reconnaissance. No more patience. No more subtlety. The final phase had begun. Nathan looked around the room. His team. The evidence, the transmission, Elena. Everything depended on the next few minutes. Then he noticed something unexpected. Elena was smiling, not because she was happy, because she had solved the equation. What is it? Nathan asked. Her eyes remained on the progress bar. 71%. And she answered, very quietly. They're too late. Nathan looked at the screen. 72%. 73. 74. The transmission continued, and for the first time all night, he realized something important. Obsidian Directive wasn't racing to stop them. Obsidian Directive was racing against mathematics, and mathematics had always been Elena Whitmore's strongest weapon. Outside the door, rapid footsteps echoed through the corridor. Closer. Faster. Closer still. Then the first impact hit the reinforced entrance. Hard enough to shake the entire room. The assault had begun, and 6 minutes still remained on the upload. The reinforced door shuddered under the impact. A metallic boom echoed through the concrete room. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Nobody panicked. Nobody spoke. The countdown had entered its final stage. Nathan Crosswell checked the screen. Transmission progress, 76%. Not enough. Not yet. Another impact slammed into the door, harder this time. Victor Hale's voice came across the radio. They've abandoned stealth. Nathan wasn't surprised. Obsidian Directive understood the situation now. The evidence was escaping. Every second increased the chance of failure. Every second favored Elena, which meant every second made them more dangerous. Elliot never looked away from the transmission screen. 78%. The progress bar crawled forward, painfully slow. Outside the room, rapid footsteps echoed through the corridor. Then came shouting, then silence, then another impact. Nathan immediately keyed his radio. Status. Cole answered first. Contact contained. His breathing remained steady, professional, controlled. But Nathan could hear the effort underneath. They're probing defensive positions, testing, learning, searching for weaknesses. Exactly what elite operators would do. Elena nodded. Cell leader is directing from the rear. Nathan glanced toward her. How do you know? They always do. She never looked away from the door. The leader never enters first. The leader survives. The room absorbed that. Then Logan's voice interrupted. I have movement on the west corridor. A pause. Then, 2 operators. Victor answered instantly. I've got them. Nathan realized something. The situation wasn't evolving the way Obsidian expected. The team wasn't reacting. The team wasn't splitting. The team wasn't making mistakes because Elena had predicted every step, every distraction, every maneuver, every attempt. Years earlier, she had learned their methods. Tonight, those methods had become a liability. Another impact struck the entrance. The lock groaned, metal bent, still held. Nathan checked the screen again. 82%, then 83%. Still not enough. The room felt smaller by the second. Not because of fear, because of anticipation. Everyone understood what waited on the other side of completion. Once the upload finished, everything changed. The network lost permanently. A sudden burst of static exploded through the radio. Then Victor's voice, sharp, urgent. Contact! A struggle, heavy movement, then silence. Nathan's muscles tightened. Victor. No answer. Victor. Several seconds passed. Finally, I'm good. The room exhaled collectively. Victor continued. They're getting desperate. Nathan looked at Elena. She wasn't surprised. Of course she wasn't. Desperation was predictable. Desperation followed failure, and failure was approaching rapidly. Elliot suddenly spoke. 9 minutes remaining. Nathan frowned. The calculation didn't make sense. The percentage is increasing. It is. Elliot nodded. But the final archive is larger than expected. The room went silent. Elena immediately stepped forward. How much larger? Elliot checked. Then his expression changed. Nathan instantly noticed. What? Elliot swallowed. There are additional files. Everyone looked at Elena. Even she appeared surprised. What files? Elliot opened a folder. Thousands of documents appeared. Photographs, contracts, communications, historical records. The archive was enormous, far larger than anyone expected. Nathan stared. This wasn't in the second partition. No. Elena moved closer. It wasn't. For the first time, uncertainty entered her voice, a rare occurrence. Then realization arrived. Nathan saw it happen. Her eyes widened slightly. A memory, a connection, a conclusion. Samuel? The name escaped her almost as a whisper. Nathan looked at her. What? Elena stared at the screen. He added them. The room froze. Samuel Thornfield, the mentor, the trainer, the man who taught her, the man who helped create her. Nathan immediately understood. The third partition. Elena nodded slowly. Years of missing history. Years of hidden evidence. Everything Samuel had collected. Everything he couldn't reveal. Everything he entrusted to her. The archive wasn't just bigger. It was catastrophic. The implications hit all at once. The network wasn't about to lose one generation of leadership. It was about to lose everything. 20 years. Every operation, every architect, every financial trail, every lie, every secret. Nathan looked at the upload timer. 8 minutes. Then the building shook violently. Everyone turned. This impact was different, stronger, closer. The lock finally cracked. A section of metal folded inward. The first breach. Obsidian directive had reached the door. Cole's voice came instantly. They're inside the wing. The room became deadly quiet. No more corridors. No more distance. No more buffers. The enemy was here. Nathan looked at the screen. 88%. Then 89%. Then 90%. The final stretch. Elena stepped beside him. The rifle remained slung across her shoulder. She still hadn't raised it. Still hadn't fired. Nathan noticed. You haven't taken a shot. She looked toward the damaged door, then back to the screen. The mission changed. Nathan understood. Years ago, the rifle had been the solution. Tonight, the evidence was. The bullet had already done its job. Now, information was the weapon. The room trembled again. The doorframe cracked. Nettle screamed. Then a voice echoed from the corridor outside. Calm. Professional. Cold. Elena. Nobody moved. The voice continued. It's over. For a brief moment, the entire facility seemed to hold its breath. Elena smiled. Not warmly. Not kindly. The smile of someone who already knew the outcome. Then she looked at the upload progress. 92%. And climbing. No, she said quietly. It's really not. Outside the door, Obsidian Directive prepared for the final breach. Inside the room, the truth was less than minutes away from becoming impossible to erase. And for the first time in 20 years, the network was losing. The voice outside the door echoed through the room. Cold. Professional. Certain. Elena. Silence followed. The damaged entrance trembled beneath another impact. Metal bent. Bolts snapped. The final breach was seconds away. Nathan Crosswell looked at the upload screen. 94%. Not enough. Not yet. The room stood perfectly still. Nobody panicked. Nobody retreated, because every person there understood one simple truth. The evidence had to survive. Everything else was secondary. The voice outside returned. You know how this ends. Elena Whitmore slowly stepped forward. For the first time since arriving in Greenland, she unslung the rifle from her shoulder. Not aggressively. Not dramatically. Simply because the moment required it. Nathan noticed something. Her hands weren't trembling. Her breathing wasn't elevated. She looked calmer than anyone else in the room. The leader outside continued. You've already lost. A faint smile touched Elena's face. No? Her voice carried clearly through the damaged door. You lost 3 years ago. Silence. Then another impact. The entrance exploded inward. The outer lock failed. A section of reinforced metal crashed onto the floor. Everyone moved simultaneously. Nathan and Victor shifted positions. Cole covered the secondary angle. Logan secured the rear approach. The Obsidian operators appeared in the corridor. Fast, precise, professional. Exactly as Elena had described. Yet something had changed. They weren't advancing. They weren't attacking because they could see the screen, the transmission. The progress bar, 97%. The realization hit them immediately. They were running out of time. The mission had already failed. For several seconds, both sides simply stared at each other. Not enemies, not soldiers. Professionals, calculating, evaluating, understanding. The Obsidian leader stepped into view. Black tactical clothing, no insignia, no identifying marks. His eyes found Elena instantly. Come with us. Nobody spoke. The offer hung in the air. Then Elena laughed, a genuine laugh, the same laugh Nathan had heard earlier. The laugh of someone who had finally stopped carrying the world alone. That's still the plan? The leader remained expressionless. We can end this. No. Elena's voice softened. You can't. She pointed toward the screen. Everyone looked. 99%. The room fell completely silent. The Obsidian leader saw it too. For the first time, something changed in his face. Not fear. Not anger. Recognition. The operation was over. Mathematically over. The equation no longer favored him. Then Elliot's voice broke the silence. Transmission complete. 100%. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. For one perfect second, the entire room stood frozen. Then confirmation appeared. Archive received. Verified. Secure. Duplicated. Distilled. The evidence was gone. Not destroyed. Beyond reach. Beyond suppression. Beyond recovery. The network's greatest secret no longer belonged to the network. It belonged to the world. The Obsidian leader lowered his weapon. Not surrender. Acceptance. A professional recognizing reality. The package got through. It wasn't a question. No? Elena smiled. It arrived. The difference mattered. The leader stared at her. Then he looked around the room. At Nathan. At Victor. At Cole. At Logan. At Elliot. At the rifle. At the woman he had spent years trying to hunt. Finally, he nodded once. A strange gesture, almost respectful. Then he stepped backward. The other operators followed. No one stopped them. No one needed to. The war had already been decided. Within minutes, facility security teams flooded the wing. Internal investigations began. Arrests followed. Then more arrests. And more. The first dominoes started falling before sunrise. In Washington, federal prosecutors opened emergency investigations. In Brussels, financial authorities froze accounts connected to shell corporations. In London, auditors reopened buried cases. In Helsinki, Sophia Lindgren received a phone call that changed her life. A decade-old investigation was alive again. Across 3 continents, people who believed themselves untouchable suddenly discovered they were not. The storm had finally arrived. 3 months later, the world looked different. Not perfect, but different. The network was collapsing. Public hearings had begun. Government contracts were suspended. Executives resigned. Investigators worked around the clock. Every week revealed another secret, another name, another hidden operation, another lie. The process would take years, maybe decades, but it had started, and it could no longer be stopped. Nathan stood outside a small cabin overlooking a quiet lake in northern Canada. The snow had finally begun melting. Spring was returning. Behind him, a door opened. Elena stepped outside. No tactical gear, no hospital clothing, no disguise. Just a woman standing beneath an open sky. For a moment, neither spoke. They watched the water. The silence felt comfortable, normal, a rare thing for both of them. Finally, Nathan glanced toward her. Do you miss it? Elena followed his gaze. The rifle rested inside the cabin, locked away, untouched. She thought about the question, the missions, the calculations, the running, the hunting, the survival. 20 years compressed into one life. Then she shook her head. No. Nathan nodded. He understood. The rifle had never been the important thing. Neither had the shot. Not even the 4,112 meters. Those were only chapters. The real story had always been choice. The moment a 15-year-old girl was selected because of her extraordinary mind. The moment that mind was shaped into a weapon. And the moment that same mind chose a different purpose. Elena looked toward the horizon. The future remained uncertain. Investigations would continue. Trials would come. Questions would never fully end. But uncertainty no longer frightened her. She had spent years calculating survival. Now she could calculate something else. Possibility. A soft breeze crossed the lake. Nathan smiled. So what happens now? Elena watched sunlight spread across the water. For the first time in a very long time, the answer required no calculation, no contingency, no backup plan, just truth. She smiled. A real one. Then she turned toward the future. Now, she said quietly, I get to live. And for the first time since the day Vivian Ashcroft found a gifted 15-year-old girl and decided to exploit her brilliance, the mathematics finally belonged to Elena Whitmore, alone.